A controversial plan to save money in Detroit. Push retirees too young to qualify for Medicare off city-run healthcare plans and onto Obamacare. American taxpayers left holding the tab for bankrupt Detroit. Backdoor bailout, maybe? Senator Mike Lee is here. Senator, welcome to the program. What do you think about that idea of a backdoor bailout for Detroit by pushing the retirees' health care costs onto Obamacare?
Well, I think it's one of the many reasons why it's dangerous to try to do anything to nationalize our health care system. Look, we've got a broad diversity of needs throughout the country as far as health care is concerned. And anything we can do that's going to create a backdoor whereby a city like Detroit can get bailed out through the federal government through this kind of manipulation is bad for Americans. The fact is that this law is bad. This law, by the president's own admission, is not ready to be implemented. The president has promised to implement it selectively, letting big business off the hook, but simultaneously telling individuals they must comply or face harsh penalties under the law. And we need to not fund it as a result.
You're leading the charge to defund Obamacare. That's what you want to do. You sponsored that legislation. But would you defund the government? Would you shut the government down in order to defund Obamacare?
Stuart, we all know that the government's going to be funded at the end of the day. And so the question is whether the government gets funded with Obamacare or without. And I'm saying that we ought to fund the government, but not Obamacare. That's what I'm pushing for. That's what we can achieve if we decide that we as a country want that. Once we get outside the Beltway, we discover that this law and this effort is not controversial. This law is despised, and Americans want us to stop Obamacare. They want to stop it by any means that we can, and that's what we intend to do.
Can you handicap this for us, how the vote might go here? Can you separate the two, shutting down Obamacare and shutting down the government? Number one, can you separate the two? Can you really do that? And number two, what do you think the chances are of flat-out defunding Obamacare?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think you can separate the two, and I think we should separate the two because there's no reason why we can't fund the government, but not Obamacare. The only reason for that would be if most of the members of the House and most of the members of the Senate insist on funding Obamacare. As far as handicapping our likelihood of getting to that, it really is too early to tell. That's why we're starting early. We're starting this effort in July when the government doesn't run out of money until the end of September. The American people are with us on this. The American people are speaking out. And as they speak out, I think we're going to see more members of the House and more members of the Senate joining with us in this effort. But again, I'm not going to handicap it at this point because we're too far out.
I do need your comment, if I may, sir, on the IRS scandal. For a moment, I want you to listen to Treasury Secretary Jack Lew on Fox News Sunday.
Chris, to be clear, there are 1,600 lawyers in the Chief Counsel's office, and there was no suggestion that this went to the one political person in that office. There's no evidence of it. There has been no evidence of it.
Well, wait a minute. Have you asked it?
Chris, I'm leaving the investigation to the proper people who do investigations. I don't think it's appropriate for me to do the investigation.
Somebody in the Treasury Department asked William Wilkins what he knew about this.
Chris, there is no evidence.
Okay, Senator. We've been told this is a phony scandal. Your take on that, please.
Well, look, this isn't a phony scandal. If you want to say it's a phony scandal, ask the people who have been targeted, who've been singled out for unequal and unfair treatment by the IRS. This is not phony, Stuart, I assure you of that. Now, whether or not there is evidence of what Chris Wallace was asking Jack Lew about remains to be seen. But the fact that he insists that there isn't evidence might result from the fact that they haven't asked the right questions.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to continue to ask these questions. This scandal is not phony, and we've got to get to the bottom of it. Because when you put this much power in the hands of a few IRS agents, power to determine whether an individual or an entity is able to operate, is able to survive, that's a problem, and that's going to be abused from time to time for partisan political purposes, and we need to get to the bottom of it. At the end of the day, we need to look at why we've vested so much power, so much discretion in IRS agents.
Yes, sir. Senator Mike Lee, Republican, Utah. Thanks very much for joining us, sir. We do appreciate it.